Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Jenny. I am from Gina K Designs. Thank you so much for stopping by to spend some time with me here today. I have created this YouTube channel to share paper crafting, tutorials, and inspiration with all of you. So if you like the content that you see here today, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you along my card making journey. In today's video, I'm going to have a close-up look at a product called Turnabout stamps, specifically this stamp set called the Dahlia Turnabout stamp set by Concord and 9th, and I'm going to show you how to make a turnabout jig that you can reuse and repurpose for other stamps in your stash, as well as for these turnabout stamps. So if you've never used a turnabout stamp before, basically this stamp is designed to stamp 4 times. So you can change up the colors to get different looks each time. So you stamp down one layer and then you rotate, you stamp another layer and then rotate. So you do this 4 times to create a beautiful looking pattern. So Concord and 9th have recently improved the way that they do their turnabout stamps and how you set them up. So if you get a package that looks like this, then I will show you how to turn this into a usable stamp, because if you don't line it up properly, then it won't stamp and create the image as intended. Okay, so the materials that we're going to use to make our turnabout jig is a 6x6 piece of cardstock, a laminating pouch, a laminator, a ruler, and a Sharpie or a marker. So we're going to start by creating an X across the center of the panel. This needs to be exactly centered right down each side. So we'll go ahead and mark the lines. So we're going to cut this out of the packaging. We're going to take the little template that's on the back of the packaging and we're going to glue that down to the center of our X cardstock. And then I'm going to slip this into a laminating pouch and I will put this through my laminator. And then I'll trim off all of the edges and making sure again that everything is squared up nice and even, exactly 6x6. Okay, so I'm going to show you this jig and the turnabout stamp in action. So I've grabbed a piece of acetate from the packaging and I've placed it over top just so that I can move my stamp around easily. And I'm going to line up that stamp right over top of the images as shown. So you have to make sure it's exactly perfect right on top. And I'll pick that up with the door of my Misti, and then I'll take the acetate piece and put it away. I'm just conditioning the stamp a little bit because it's brand new, so I'm just going to use the palm of my hand to rub over any of the manufacturing residue that's left on the stamp. So I've got a little bit of adhesive in the center of my template, and I put my paper on top. I'm going to ink the stamp up with my lightest color ink, turn the door of the Misti and stamp it down. And then I'm going to rotate the jig to the left 1 turn. And then I'll go ahead in with my second color of ink and then rotate another turn to the left and stamp with my 3rd color. And then again, same thing for the last turn for the darkest color. And now we have this beautiful 4-tone dahlia flower. Okay, so I've got a new piece of cardstock. I put a little bit of adhesive down on my jig. And then I'm going to line this up with the corner of my little template there. So this position is different than we placed the cardstock the very first time. So this will give us a more offset look. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up with my lightest color and then turn 1 rotation to the left, ink with my 2nd color, turn again to the left, ink with my 3rd color, and turn once more to the left for the 4th turn and the final turn and ink with my darkest color. So here you see we've got the dahlia pattern more shifted to the left side of the cardstock. You can try different positions and move the cardstock around to get different looks. And also try different color themes as well. So here's a look at the 2 panels that we've made so far. Okay, so if you've been following my channel, you know I'm a huge fan of Gina K Designs, and I wanted to figure out a way to repurpose my jig to create a Gina K turnabout. So I'm going to pull out one of my Gina K stamp sets, and I'm going to show you how to turn any one of your stamp sets with small images into your very own Turnabout stamp. So if you'll take a look at my jig here, just ignore the little black flowers in the background. If you'll see where I'm pointing at the little X design that we've got, it's turned the jig into 4 quadrants. So basically what you want to do is ensure that your stamp lines up into each quadrant so that when we turn it 4 times it doesn't overlap one another. I'll show you what I mean here so it makes sense. So we're going to pull out the first image and I'm going to make sure it stays in that area as I showed you. So what we'll do is we'll pick up the stamp with the door of the Misti, and then since we've laminated this, and I should mention that's the reason why I laminated this piece of cardstock so that I can ink and tape on it and be able to wipe it away and reuse it. So I'm going to ink up the first flower. This is just so that we can get perfect placement. So I'll stamp that down and then I'm going to rotate the jig to the left 1 turn. And then I'm going to pick up my next image and just kind of squeeze it into place there inside that quadrant. So you'll notice that the stamps aren't lining up on the door of the Misti, but when we stamp them down, you'll see that the image is nestled right in between that other flower. And then we'll turn the jig again. So I'm going to add in a 3rd image here. And I'm going to use the same quadrant that we've been working on. And I'll slip my 3rd image right inside of there, staying inside those lines again. So I'll pick that stamp up with the door of the Misti, making sure it's not touching any of the other stamps. And then I'm going to ink that up to make sure that I'm happy with the placement. And then basically we've got our pattern laid out. So I'm happy with this placement. And then we're going to wipe off the jig and go ahead and start stamping this pattern. So I've slipped my piece of cardstock into my jig, making sure that my jig is tight up into the corner of my Misti. And I'm going to just put a little bit of adhesive on the back there as well so that it sticks down nice and good and doesn't move around on me. And then I'm going to start with my first color. I'm going to ink up the stamps that I've got loaded up on the door of my Misti with all of the same color. And then I'll pick up the jig and rotate it to the left 1 turn, wipe off my stamps and choose another color, ink that up and stamp it down, rotate again a 3rd time with another color. I'll wipe off my stamps. I'll also wipe up any ink that got on my jig, stamp down with my 3rd color, rotate again to the left, and for my final color, I'll ink it up and stamp it down. And you can see the beautiful pattern that we formed here. Now I did feel that there were a few too many empty white spaces and I should have added 1 more image. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go back to the original starting point with the first color that we stamped down and add in another flower in the corner there. And then I'll go through the whole process and matching up the colors and turning and rotating and stamping 4 times to create this beautiful pattern. So that's all finished. Here is a close-up look at the homemade Gina K Turnabout. I really love this design. And you can do this with any small images that you have. As long as you keep it inside that little quadrant, turn it around, stamp it down as I've shown you, you can create tons of different backgrounds and patterns of all different types of themes. Okay, so I'm going to turn this pattern paper that we've created into a card. I've got a piece of silver shimmer cardstock and I'm just going to mat my background onto the silver shimmer cardstock and then on a heavy base weight cardstock, and I'll just get everything cut up so that there's a nice silver layer around. I'll trim down my panel and then I'll trim down the silver cardstock. And then I'll add a piece of fun foam in behind that silver cardstock to give it a nice even raised dimension. And I'll get everything glued down to my card base. And I've chosen a sentiment from the same stamp set that says wishing you a happy day. And I just tested it out on a scrap piece of paper on the side to make sure it was going to stamp nice. And then I have it straight. And then I pull out some embellishments from my stash. I've decided to use some white pearls. I get asked a lot about this container of pearls. This is just from Michael's. It's just got a bunch of soft pearls as well as some shimmery jewels. And I'm just going to put those in the center of my flowers and just kind of all around my background to create a beautiful look. And then we're going to call this card done. Here's a close-up look at the finished card. So I had fun making these Turnabout stamps and then creating some of my own. I have a bunch of sample cards here to show you. I mean, each time you do it, you can change up the color. You get so many different looks and variations. And then if you take a look at the stamps that you have in your stash, imagine the possibilities. There are so many small little images that we get that are left forgotten about in the stamp sets. So just take a peek through your sets and see what kind of turnabout set that you can build on your own. Thank you so much for stopping by to spend some time with me here today. I truly appreciate all of the support, the likes, the thumbs up, and especially when you subscribe. If you like the content that you've seen here today, please make sure to hit the like button and leave a comment down below so that YouTube knows I'm doing my job right. All of the products that I've used here today, you can find the description down below. None of my links are affiliate. This is just purely me sharing information with you. And I appreciate you spending time here today. Thanks so much and have a wonderful day.